And for adding image to the scene, you need to go to the add and press image and then press reference, because we want to add a reference image to model our object. So I click on reference and a new window is gonna be displayed. You can select your image based on the places of your image, or is it on your drive. For example, my image is on pictures and Blender tutorial, and this is what we're gonna start to model. And if you see the image as a list, you can come here and click on this icon and you can see the preview of your images. There is also a place called recent, and after a couple of time using this window, Blender is gonna save the location that you go from your previous project. So it's gonna be really useful. So I click on this page and load my reference image. As you can see, the angle of my image isn't very nice. I want an image to be vertical, like for example this, but my image is diagonal and it's not really a good start for modeling. So if I want to add a vertical image, I first let me click on the object, press delete to delete my object. I wanted an image to be placed like this. And for this to happen, the moment I load my reference image, I need to go to the view that is perpendicular to this type of image, and the perpendicular angle is this. And so I need to come to the Y angle. So I come here, minus Y, and let me delete this. And if I add image reference and load my reference image, and as you can see, Blender is gonna save the last location that I've been. So I load my reference image, and if I come here again and see my image, you can see that I load my image at proper angle. And if I move it a little back, and you see the angle just rotated 90 degree. And that's how you properly add your image to the scene. And if I want to, for example, add another image to this angle, for example, if I want to add another image like this, I can see that the perpendicular angle is this angle and this is X. So I'm gonna go to the X angle and then go to the add image reference, add another image. And you can see that I can have as many images as I want in my scene. So this is how you add your image to the Blender scene. Now the next part is how to add your primary object. We have many primary objects in Blender. For example, if I come to the add and then come to the mesh, we have plane, cube, circle, UV sphere, icosphere, cylinder, cone, and torus. We have also grid and monkey that isn't gonna be useful to us. And every time you want to start modeling, it's really important to select a proper primary object. And the reason why it's really important is because if you start with the wrong primary object, it's gonna make your modeling process harder. So for that, I prepared a scene that's gonna explain to you what is the proper primary object for every type of modeling. As I have told you before, I have prepared a scene to talk about primary objects. And I also add this image, and these are all the objects that I'm gonna teach you to model in this modeling series. We start with a bench, and then a stone glass, then a light, and then a teapot, then a metal feather. And at the end, we're gonna wrap all the things that we learn in these objects to create a complicated suit. Now, what is primary object? In every 2D software, you need to start with a primary object to create anything you want. For example, if I want to model a bench, I need to choose one of these primary objects, and these are the primary objects that Blender has. And as you can see, plane, cube, UV sphere, icosphere, cylinder, cone, torus, and circle. Now, if I want to model this bench, I need to start with some part of it. You can't create the whole object with a primary object. You need to start with some part of it. And I choose to start, for example, let me on surface. I want to start with this part. Okay? And if that's not a really nice drawing, whatever. And what is the closest object to this drawing between all of these objects? If you look, it's whether a plane or a cube. So for this object, we can either choose plane or cube, and it depends on your preference and what you like as a modeler. So for bench, we're gonna start with the plane or cube. And what about this glass? What is the closest object to this glass? For example, if I draw a simple, for example, here, and this is the first form that I want to, for example, create. What is the closest object between all of these to create glass? It's cylinder. And for our light, it's very obvious, so I'm not gonna talk about it. It's cube. And what about our teapot? At first, you may think that teapot is also can be start with, for example, a cylinder. And you're not wrong. This teapot can start with cylinder. But the better option, in my opinion, is starting with UV sphere, because it's closer to the UV sphere than to the cylinder. And the next one is this feather. Sometimes when you want to model an object, the object doesn't have a specific form that you can implement in one of these objects. It's something like, for example, this. It's a free form. But since it's a flat and free form, it's better to start with the simplest object. For example, start with a plane and create a similar shape on plane. For example, this feather. And that's not really the same as that one, but whatever. Okay, so you start with primary object and then extend that object to add the detail and all the other thing that your object has. And in the next video, we're gonna start modeling the bench.